Hi, my name is Abraham. I'm your big brother in recovery, coming back to you with another educational video, which I truly hope is transformational for you while you are in your pursuit of recovery. Uh, Continue to leave your comments at the bottom, and by all means, press your like buttons and please help us help 1 million people to recover by sharing these videos with your friends. I hope you enjoyed our last video. Many of you did leave me a lot of comments, and it really motivates me to continue to do what I'm doing on this channel. Because our book says at the core of our recovery is just merely one person helping another. So, without further ado, I don't want to waste your time because, as our book says, our message must have depth and weight. And on this channel, we use the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, not saying this is the only way to recover, but this is the way that we choose to use. And I'm quite sure there are many ways, I know there are many ways out there to recover, but like I said, on this channel, we happen to use the book and not our opinion. So I'd like to get right to it. And I want to talk about something that many people may not know about. And I'll tell you what it is. And it's called Step Zero. Step Zero. You might be wondering, wait a minute, I heard of the 12 steps, but what is Abraham talking about, Step Zero? Well, Step Zero is pretty much a prerequisite for Step 1 through 12. In other words, it's contingent upon your commitment to take the steps. And I'll lead and I'll show you a few places in the book, and I'll conclude or somewhat conclude with the answer and show you where Step Zero is found. But I like to take you on a little journey. Open up your books or look at this video, go get your book after you looked at it, and I'll show you where it is. I like to start off, as always, our point of origin is forward to the first edition. Forward to the first edition. And it says, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered ED from a seemingly or apparently hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely or exactly how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. For them, meaning those who suffer from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, we hope these pages will prove so convincing that no further proof or authentication will be necessary. So immediately, we find out that the fellowship is called Alcoholics Anonymous, and so is the book. And if you've been watching my videos and you've been going to meetings, and this is not to sound derogatory or throw anybody under the bus, but we've kind of got away from the book. So a lot of the fellowship is not reading the book, but they're doing a lot of group therapy, right? So in the first two sentences, or the first sentence, it tells us what our goal should be. Our goal, as I told you, the SMART goal, should simply be to recover from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. That should be the goal. And the book is going to tell us exactly how to do it. Now, and if you continue to read, it says, we think this account of our experiences, collective, will help everyone to better understand the alcoholic. Many do not comprehend or understand that the alcoholic is a very sick person, not just sick, very sick person. And besides, watch this, we are sure that our way of living, not surviving, has its advantages for all. I interpret that as all fellowships. But I don't want to get into that right now. I just want to stay peaceful because our moral code is live and let live. And this channel is not a channel of condemnation. It is solely about reconciliation, because no relationship, no recovery. Now, I'd like to take you to page 17. Page 17. Bill was used in this book as our person to identify with. All Bill's story is a story to be used as an identifier. We already know in the doctor's opinion that Bill was hopeless and he had been in treatment 3 times. But notice on page 17, there is a chapter called There is a Solution. And it says, again, we of Alcoholics Anonymous know thousands of men and women who were just as hopeless as Bill. You remember Dr. Silkworth pronounced him as hopeless, but now he has hope. Why? He's recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. How do I know that? Ebby gave him step 2, step 3 through 12. You remember the religious idea and the program of action. So guess what? Bill applied it. He took it to Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob, as you recall, knew the solution because he was a member of the Oxford group, but he didn't know the problem, nor did he know the plan of action. Bill knew the problem because he got it from Silkworth, but he had to get the solution and the plan of action from Ebby. So watch this. Nearly all have recovered. They have solved the drink problem. I don't need an interpreter for this, and this chapter is called There is a Solution. So I don't understand why so many people still feel to believe that there is a problem. There's a problem if you don't make step 0 applicable to your life. Now, I'm going to show you step 0, but I'm going to give you a connect the dots leading up to it. So we found out they said we need to read the book because it's going to show us exactly how to recover. We show Bill as an example who has recovered from a hopeless and helpless situation. Now, watch this. Let's go to page 29. Go to page 29 and let's look at the first paragraph. Notice what they're going to tell us. Bill and more than 100 others have recovered. Now it says further on, clear-cut or simple directions are given showing how they recovered. So now we know that they've recovered. They told us they're going to show us exactly how they did it in Forward to the First Edition. Now on page 29, they're telling us keep reading. Further on, we're going to show you what we did to recover. Now, I'd like to draw your attention to step 0. This is the prerequisite. This is the step that most people miss and have figured out why so many people relapse. Here is the test to find out if a person is going to relapse, which I hope nobody does, because I know what clinical stuff says, relapse is a part of recovery. I don't say that. You know why? Simply because one relapse can kill you. And page 58 tells us, first sentence, rarely have we seen a person fail. Why do we say fail? We say relapse. Watch this. Why? This is a program of entire abstinence. Is anybody condemning the person for relapsing? No. Some do relapse. You remember the numbers on page XX, Roman numeral page 20? 50% got sober at once. 25% sobered up after some relapses. But today, with the advent of carfentanil and all these other crazy things that they got out there, people could die from one relapse. I've seen it happen. So I don't promote relapse. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Notice what it says next. This tells us who is in danger. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not, there it is, completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with who? Themselves. What are they being honest with themselves about? 1 is too many and 1,000 isn't enough. They're such unfortunates. They're not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They're naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living, not surviving, which demands rigorous honesty. Why? Destiny demands diligence. You have to be diligent. You have to work. Their chances are less than average. There are those, too, who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders. This is for our MESA brothers and sisters. If you're duly diagnosed, Look what they say. You too can recover because why? The higher powers are equal opportunity. But many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. That's why the first principle behind the first step is honesty, because you can't build a spiritual structure on a foundation of dishonesty. Here comes step 0. Watch this. This is the qualification for a lead. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we're like now. Here is step 0. Notice what it starts off with, a question. If you have decided you want what we have. 3-part question. I don't know if you decided it. Like Nike says, if you have, do it. But Gatorade says, is it in you? I don't know. But if you have decided you want what we have, what do we have? We have sanity, because we went from insanity to sanity. In other words, we went from enslavement to empowerment. Or in another way to look at it, we went from self-will to being consumed by God's will. Notice what it says next. And are willing to go to any lengths to get it. To get what? Sanity, power, God's will. Then, notice if, and then you're ready to take certain steps. So this is step 0. This is the prerequisite. You have to be thoroughly convinced of this before you even get to page 59. But notice what it says next. At some of these, we what? We balked. Now, if we go to our big book dictionary, we'll find out that the word balk simply means stop short of completion, try to avoid, resisted, or hesitated. You remember earlier I started talking about on this channel what you need, what we have to do based on my interpretation of the big book is first get a power greater than ourselves. Second, buy a book and read the book, because the program of recovery is located in the book. Next, get a home group. Out of that home group, select a person who has recovered, at least a person that's did step 4 and 5, because our big book says until you do that, you haven't even had a spiritual experience yet. Next, after you do that, take the steps at once so you can have a spiritual awakening, because that is the results of taking the steps. You remember, the first 9 steps help you recover. 10, 11, and 12 keep you recovered. Page 132, second paragraph from the bottom. It simply says, we have recovered and have been given the power to help others. How can I help you if I'm still powerless? That just doesn't make sense. I mean, how can I help you recover if I haven't recovered, right? We do recover. Now, by looking at step 0, and notice what the word balk means, many do that, but notice what it says. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg, notice this, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Let go what absolutely? Our whole ideas in order to recover. And then we go off into page 59 and notice what it says. Have measures avail us relapse or nothing. We stood at the turning point. The turning point is step 3. We ask his protection, meaning God, and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, not the steps we talked about, discussed, memorized, regurgitated. As a matter of fact, I want to read you an Abrahamism. No amount of reading or memorizing will make you successful in life. It is the understanding and application of wise thoughts that count. These people have already done it. I don't have to recreate the wheel. They told me they've solved the drink problem. I had a problem, and page 45 reinforced that for me in case I was inquisitive I had the problem. First paragraph. In the preceding chapters, you have learned, ED, not ING, something of alcoholism. We hope we have made clear the distinction between the alcoholic and the non. Here comes that if again. You remember in step 0? Step 0 says, if you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any lengths to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. Watch this. If when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or if when drinking you have little control over the amount you take, you're probably alcoholic or addicted. Notice what they're going to give us next. They're going to give us the solution and the definition to alcoholism. If that be the case, you may be suffering from a what? Illness. They didn't say disease. An illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. So now they tell us what our solution is. It's a spiritual experience. And guess what? They also give us the definition for alcoholism. It is an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. The word spiritual experience and the word spiritual awakening are interchangeable because Bill didn't want to repeat himself, just like the word defects and the word shortcoming are interchangeable. He did not want to repeat himself. Now notice, if this be the case, page 75, let's look at page 75, and I believe it's the second paragraph. It says, once we have taken this step with holding nothing, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and sense. Notice what it says about the spiritual experience. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. Remember I told you, you don't want a person who hasn't at least done step 5. Step 6 is nothing but really pulling the book down off the shelf, looking at the first 5 steps, sitting there for an hour, making sure that you built it on a sturdy foundation. And if so, step 6 and 7 are so quick on the top of page 70, page 76 until it's ridiculous. They only ask you 2 questions for step 6. And guess what? Step 7 is nothing but a prayer, right? So getting back to step 0, I'm just showing you simplicity. You remember Bill said on page 14, simple but not easy. A price had to be paid, and that price was simply self-centeredness. There are a lot of people talking, but they're not doing work. This is a program of action, vigorous action, right? Now, with that all being said, I'd like to draw your attention to page 181. 181. And then I'm going to close. 181. Step 0 is interesting because it sets the tone for the rest of the steps. You have to do work, right? Last paragraph on 181. If you think you are atheist, that's one type of believer. Agnostic, that's another type of believer. Why did I say they both believers? One believes there isn't a God, and one believes if you give them proof, they will believe. So what separates the two? What they believe and what they've been taught. Doesn't mean it's true. A skeptic, wow, that's the one that scoffs, right? You can't be either of these when you're doing step 0. Or have any other form of intellectual pride, because step 0 eliminates all intellectual pride. Remember what it said. Step 0 said that, guess what? If you have decided, conscious, you want what we have and are willing to go to any lengths to get it, you are ready to take certain steps. So we eliminate these 4 forms of intellectual pride, which keeps you from accepting what's in this book. Remember they told us in forward to the first edition that they was going to show us exactly what they did, and they were going to give us clear-cut directions. We feel sorry for you. If you still think you are strong enough to beat the game alone, I was in the game, but watch this. When I walked away from the game, I beat the game. Why? Because as long as you're in the game, you're going to beat people and you're going to get beat. But today, my goal is, watch this, not to get hurt and not to hurt nobody. So if I can do that, it's been a great day. When I chalked everything up to the game, guess what? I beat the game. Notice what it's going to say next. That's your affair if you think you can beat the game. But if you really and truly want to quit drinking, sound like step 0, doesn't it? Liquor for good and all, and sincerely, not seriously, because if you're serious about recovery, guess what? You haven't convinced yourself mentally that you're going to do it, but sincerity is in your heart. I don't sign a letter saying, seriously yours. It's sincerely yours. Feel that you must have some help. We know that we have an answer for you. Wow, it never fails. Why? Rarely have we seen it fail. If you go about it with one half the zeal you have been in the habit of showing when you were getting another drink. In other words, you put half the effort into this recovery that you put off until you're using. Look what the last sentence says. Your Heavenly Father will never let you down. I want to close with something that's interesting on page 568. And I want to look at the second paragraph. Most emphatically, we wish to say that any alcoholic capable of honestly facing his problems in the light of our experience can recover. Uh-oh, there it is, not ing, finished, done, complete. Provided, here comes step 0, he does not close his mind to all spiritual concepts. He can only be defeated by an attitude of intolerance and belligerent denial. In other words, looking for the differences instead of the similarities. But here comes the conclusion of the whole matter, as Solomon said in the book of Ecclesiastes. We find that no one need have difficulty with the spirituality of the program. Willingness, honesty, and open-mindedness are the essentials of recovery, but these are indispensable. And as my good friend Herbert Spencer closes by saying, there is a principle, and I'm going to tell you what that principle is, which is bar against all information, which is proof against all arguments, and which cannot fail to keep a man in everlasting ignorance. That principle is contempt, pride, and investigation. It's like our book says, you can't transmit something you don't have. So I hope this video has really helped you. I want you to continue to look at step 0. And you know what? Ask yourself, are you ready or not? This is your big brother Abraham. Thank you for everything you've done for me on this channel. Help us make this year a big year by getting over 1,000 subscribers, and continue to leave your likes, your comments, and by all means, share this with your friends. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.